My name is Annie Campbell Washington. I'm Senior Assistant Dean of Academic Programs and Dean of Students at the Goldman School of Public Policy at UC Berkeley. We are so pleased and honored to welcome you all here to our program tonight. Tonight's event is our Fireside Chat with Dean David Wilson and Cabinet Secretary Nani Coloretti. So welcome to all of you. I'm so glad you could be here with us this evening. This is a particularly exciting moment for GSPP as we expand our presence here in Sacramento. In 2026, we will be launching our Master of Public Affairs degree in Sacramento with a focus on agile government. Thank you. Our MPA program is for mid-career professionals, and we're so thrilled to be able to locate it here in Sacramento to welcome students into the classroom to learn from Sacramento leaders and to be working on real-world problems in state government while they are students at the Goldman School of Public Policy. So we will be sharing more information about that. And if you are interested or would be interested in applying to this program, we hope you will do so and encourage your colleagues to get to know more about the program as well. This program is designed for professionals who want to strengthen their skills in real-time problem solving, cross-sector collaboration, and adaptive leadership, all qualities that are needed in government today and in the future. I'd also like to take a moment to thank all of the GSPP alums in the room. If you're a GSPP alum, I hope you'll raise your hand. Thank you for being here. Even the Cabinet Secretary raised her hand. I'll show you. Your support is so important to us and means so much to us. I want to encourage you all to think about our current students as you encounter opportunities in your organizations. If you're a current student, would you raise your hand? Thank you so much for making the trek up here to Sacramento today. Our students are so eager to contribute through internships, capstones, IPA projects, and your mentorship and networks are so important to them. You make a tremendous difference in their training and professional development. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Dean David C. Wilson. In addition to leading the Goldman School, Dean Wilson is a distinguished scholar whose research examines how individuals form political preferences around race and justice, and how cognition shapes public opinion. He brings deep expertise in survey methods, political psychology, and intergroup relations. He's also the co-author of Racial Resentment in the Political Mind. Please join me in welcoming Dean David Wilson and Cabinet Secretary Nani Coloretti.
All right. I've got housekeeping and everything, but I want to make some initial remarks and just comments about like why we're here and what we're doing, not just for this event, but why Goldman is here in Sacramento. I want you to imagine a government where the top priority is customer satisfaction or end user satisfaction, that all the efforts of government are designed to ensure that whoever is benefiting from a service is completely satisfied from it, where staff members are empowered to solve problems and make policy, but also evaluate it, give feedback to it, implement it in ways that help improve the solutions that are offered on the front end. Imagine a government where the focus is on iterating and learning as opposed to just getting stuff done and stacking up accomplishments. Imagine small teams that do work in multiple short periods of time rather than come together and solve a problem over the course of a few years and then offer a solution. And also imagine a government where individuals, they operate with a focused set of networks. And so you're not alone and isolated as an agency or as a team, but you can actually rely on others to get things done. The problems that public agencies are being asked to address are often interconnected without clear and direct solutions. We need a professional training that develops new expertise, showcases relevant knowledge resources, builds networks of skilled and agile leaders so that they can seed and foster resilience in public service, in public policy, and public implementation. But most of all, we want to seed innovation. These ideas that we can actually do something different. We don't need to invent, but maybe we can make things better. Imagine principles like establishing clarity of mission and expediency in achieving it. using metrics to demonstrate success, being persistent in the face of failure, forming collaborations of highly skilled and cross-functional teams, and perhaps, again, innovating, constantly innovating. Agile government is not about doing more work in less time. It's not about being faster. Agile is about generating more value from less work. So we're really excited to be here in Sacramento, starting our new Masters of Public Affairs program, where we will, as a public policy school, find solutions to improving government, public service, and public administration. And so I want to thank a few people. Rich Callahan, I saw Rich earlier. There you are, Rich, in the back. This program would not be possible without partnerships like Rich, who's a fellow of the National Academy of Public Administration. I'd like to thank Annie Campbell-Washington, our Dean of Students. Ryan Rose helped put this event on. Jean Cheng is our Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer. Cecile Kabakungan is our Masters of Public Policy Extraordinaire and Network Career Leader here. I saw Mia, there's Mia Bird, our faculty member, Bor Reed, our Communications Chief, Catherine Newman, where's Catherine? Where are you? You have Catherine Newman, University of California Provost and faculty member in the Goldman School. Cam Parker, I saw Cam here. These people you have to know. Rosa Terrazas, Rosa's in the back on our development team. Catherine Baker. Catherine, thank you for allowing us to have the event in this space. Michelle Moskowitz, where's Michelle? She's part of, there you are, Michelle, part of our government relations team. Steve Arditi, who sits with me on the advisory board for the Policy Center, Student and Policy Center. Evan White, Policy Lab, California Policy Lab is here now having impact. And I'd like to, of course, recognize one of our most distinguished alum, Liz Hill. Liz is a longtime hero and icon of the Goldman School in Sacramento. And believe it or not, you're the inspiration for a lot of the work that we're thinking about doing these days. So, and that's a really believe it or not. And so now it is my pleasure to introduce our own Nani Coloretti, the Honorable Nani Coloretti and Secretary Nani Coloretti. She's a 1994 Masters of Public Policy graduate, and she is our keynote speaker for this evening. She currently serves as Cabinet Secretary in the office of California Governor Gavin Newsom, where she advises the governor on policy and oversees state agencies and departments with over 25 years of experience. You've got 25 years of experience. You've been leading public, private, and nonprofit organizations with deep understanding and expertise around the federal, state, and local government systems. You are really an expert in government. So prior to your current role as secretary, you served as deputy director of the Office of Management and Budget in the Biden administration, creating and managing the federal government's $6.9 trillion budget. That's a lot of zeros. Yeah. Well done. Goldman School can help. You know, we helped you do that really well, right? She spent 5 years at the Urban Institute helping to manage the public policy think tank during the Trump administration. You held multiple positions during the Obama administration, including the implementation side, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, while at Treasury, including helping to build the new Consumer Financial Protection Bureau as its first chief operating officer. You are really an expert in government. Yeah. During a time when, thank you. Yeah, this is amazing. You know, during a time when some are questioning the value of public service, it's really a pleasure to see someone that's leaning into public service more and more. So on behalf of the Goldman School, please welcome Nani Coloretti to the podium. All right. Now this is the fun part. This is the easy part. The easy part, okay. First, help us understand what a Secretary of the Cabinet does. Yeah. Okay. And so tell us about your job. Tell us how it influences government and the nitty-gritty, the details behind what you do.
I'll do my best to do that. So my title is Cabinet Secretary, and I am housed in the governor's office. And I just want to, first of all, say thank you before I jump right in to you for inviting me here. Thank you to Berkeley for putting this together. And most of all, thanks to the Goldman School. I'm glad to see that you're going to have a presence here, a formal presence. I think that's going to be really great for everybody, for the whole state, and for everybody here. I also want to just shout out to my governor's office colleagues. If you work for Gavin Newsom and the GO, they are here. They are here. Everyone, if you want to know what it's really like to work in the governor's office, talk to one of them. And I also just want to give a shout out to anyone who's here who works in Sacramento. Just raise your hand if you work here in Sacramento. Okay, that's a lot of people. That's awesome. So you might know what this position is even better than me. I've been in the position for a little over 6 months, and I basically am the COO for the government, for the governor, is how I think of it. I work with all the cabinet secretaries. I'm not the only one. There are a lot of secretaries, a lot of agency heads, and there are department heads. In fact, we have Amy Tong here, who was a secretary for GovOps. So if you want to learn about what it's like to be a secretary, please talk to Amy. She will know way more than me about that. And I basically help bring to life the governor's policies that he wants to implement, either by helping develop them or by helping implement them. And I do that in lots of teams. I don't do anything by myself. I really help facilitate that, create the conditions for that to happen.
Yeah, you've worked with the governor before.
I have, yeah.
So what kinds of things did he have to kind of give you to take the job?
There was like little to no
There's no
onboarding.
No.
I did not get onboarding from anybody. I did speak with the governor a few times after. I kept in touch with him. That's a theme, I'll say. I left the governor when he was mayor of San Francisco in 2009 during the Great Recession, which is when I joined the Obama administration. And I kept in touch with Gavin, as I like to call him, Gavin, the whole time. And so we just had a conversation and decided it'd be a good idea for me to come over and work for him. There's no job description. There's no onboarding. But it helps to understand how things work and how people operate. And also, one of the very most important things is just to stay curious. That helps me really in every job.
Yeah, curiosity is a key component of agile. Yeah. And believe it or not, you can train students and others to be more curious about the work. One part that you kind of allude to, but relationship building and having good relationships when you leave positions and start new ones. Can you talk about your approach to ensuring that you've done a lot of work and you've got a lot of trust, you've been confirmed twice, hence you're honorable.
Right, that's my honorable title from the Senate,
There's some skill that you have about navigating the space in an interpersonal kind of sense. Can you talk about that leadership skill?
Yeah, I can try to describe that. I mean, I'll just say a little bit of background on me. I grew up in Hawaii, and when you live on an island, you learn to get along with everyone. It's sort of both an expectation and honestly a method of survival, I think, on the island. And Hawaii is a very diverse state. It was the first, what we call majority minority state. There's no ethnic group that is over 50%, and that's been that way for a long time. What that means is a lot of people had to come together and sort of learn how to get along. And so that's really where I learned these skills, was as a kid and growing up there. And so I just bring that into any job that I have. And it's really, for me, it is really about curiosity, because I get my work done with people, and I'm just endlessly curious about what motivates people, what's interesting to them, and I keep in touch with people. So that is just a personal way of operating that I also helps in the working world, but isn't the reason why I do it. It's more just the love of people, I guess.
You've operated now at the local, state, federal level, and can you point to a few just real key distinctions between working in operations at a federal level with all the agencies versus now a state level, and you've also worked at the city level? What are some of the real distinctions that we should be aware of, and how difficult or easy a job would be?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, the jobs I've done in these different places are really, are in some ways different, in some ways very similar. I would say that the main difference is just scope and scale. So there are a lot of zeros in the federal budget, but I don't think that's really what is important. I guess what I would say is, for me, what's consistent is really an approach. I'm like a walking ad for the Goldman School, because you learn a set of tools there.
Walking ad.
I am. I know. I got the dean's pin. I got a dean's pin out of it, so that's my pay today. No, when you go to a place like the Goldman School, you learn a set of tools, and I call it my toolkit. And I just sort of bring that to every job that I do, and it helps me analyze things and understand what's happening. And I would say at the highest levels, the federal government, or even in the city and county of San Francisco, just to remember that like the government isn't like an entity, a thing. It's like made up of people. All these policies, everything we talk about here, it's done by people. So I'm a people forward, people first kind of person. And so that's what's interesting to me. Not just people, but like the systems in which they're working. And so to me, there's no difference at all. It's just scope and scale.
When you think back to your time at the Goldman School and you were sitting in classes and taking econometrics and policy analysis and the like,
Yeah.
what were some of the moments at which you started to be like, all right, so why am I doing this? And then now when you're doing the work, do you say, okay, now I understand why I did this? Was there any bridging that happened later?
All the time. I mean, I'll just say, like, with any experience, whether it's like I was in the Masters of Public Policy, very intense quantitative modeling, a lot of intensive analytical work that you do there. I took a cost-benefit analysis class. I'm like, what am I doing in this class? It was very theoretical. And that happens a lot in school, I think, and in life, where you're doing something and you're wondering, like, what am I supposed to be learning here? And then it's revealed to you way later. Yeah. Way later. So in the case of cost-benefit analysis, it was revealed to me when I went to the Office of Management and Budget, and we actually do cost-benefit analysis there for regulation. So it's helpful to have just a little bit of facile knowledge of that. And also what's helpful with a really hard program like the Goldman School, I mean, I don't want to scare anybody away from it, but it's really hard. Which is why people get through the part of the first year, they're like, why am I at this program? This is terrible. I'm doing so badly. Is that you're pushing yourself. You're just pushing yourself, and it's really good to do that in an environment like, as I mentioned before, I'm an ad for the Goldman School. It's really good to do that in an environment like the Goldman School because there are supports and ways to navigate. And there's going to be so many times, and this really helped, in jobs where I've taken on a lot of jobs that I had no business doing, or I didn't know really anything about the topic area, and it helps to have had that training at the Goldman School, to just be unafraid to approach something or do something hard. That's
an interesting, way to think about the work, because I can imagine you take on new jobs, especially at the federal level, and it's just massive. It's just like a fire hose. And in some ways you're like, well, I don't want to make a mistake, but I still need to understand everything, and you don't have any time to do all of that.
Yeah.
So can you just say something else about the tools you use to just say, here's what I do when I first step into a new role in a new place, no matter what the scale or size of it is, but how do you get your kind of footing and setting as a leader in understanding the space? Do you rely on talent of your teams? Do you read every regulation and every organization chart? Like, what do you do?
I don't read every regulation.
You don't do any of that stuff?
I don't, no. What I do is I work with people. So as I mentioned before, so you think of the capacity of any organization, it's basically the people, the process, and the systems, whether that's technology or something else. And that's the capacity to try to get something done. So I find that I am by the way, I'm very extroverted, so this works if you're extroverted. It might not work if you're introverted. Because I actually think out loud, I talk out loud, and I talk to people, and that's how I learn things. But the thing that GSPP really focuses on is an analytical framework, right? So the Eightfold Path is an analytical framework. And one of the first things you have to do is define the problem. And that kind of grounding in that is really helpful. Just to kind of remember, wait, what are we trying to accomplish here? What is the problem we're trying to solve? Also, is what we're doing solving anything? Yeah. It's always good to take a step back and ask that.
Yeah. We have a lot of solutions. Everyone has a good answer, a good idea, but if it was that easy, it wouldn't be.
It would have been done already.
So speaking of problems, let's talk about Sacramento. What do you see as the problem with Sacramento state government? Not in a political sense, but in a way where a public policy school can help do something about it.
Look, I'll say this for any government: we are outgunned, and what I mean by that is there are a lot of interest in policymaking, a lot of funding, a lot of conversation. And if you're inside of government, you're supposed to be a civil servant. You're supposed to be kind of a purveyor of information, and you're supposed to this is how I came up the line, look at all the options, confront trade-offs, and make recommendations on moving forward. And you're doing that with very few resources. So it's not that that's a problem with Sacramento per se. I think it's just a challenge in governing and working in public policy spaces. You are often going to be you're going to be outgunned. At Treasury Department, the Office of Tax Policy is smaller than one firm's set of tax policy lawyers, just one firm. So how do you navigate that? It's hard. So I would say it's not the problem, but it is something that public policy training can help you navigate.
So when we think about agile government, we are talking about innovating with the work of government. And in the past, sometimes the innovation is just contracting the work out. So we don't have to think about the problem. We just pay someone else to do it. Is there a talent focus that's really needed in government? Some will talk about project management. Some will talk about understanding AI or technology, the digital space. Is there a core talent that you think would be universal for all governments to ensure they're investing in?
I mean, I wish everyone learned how to do the Eightfold Path. And what I mean by that is came to work with a more neutral analytical perspective. So that you can really evaluate something. It's very hard to do, by the way. We all have our own personal views, and also, like, I work for a political a figure. He has a viewpoint. What that means is, he's going to lean towards that thing that he wants to do. My job is to basically try to bring other views to the table on that, and to kind of refine that idea, and to really try to understand, like, what is your actual goal here? If you're someone I'm working for, that's what I'm thinking about all the time. Like, there are many more ways to meet the goal than just the idea that came out of somebody's head. Yeah. So that's that. I think I wish more people had grounding in that. Nice. Yeah.
So what keeps you up at night in terms of policy challenges? Like, what are the most urgent areas of focus that you see that need attention?
So I'm not going to talk about democracy, although I do think that it's very urgent and it does keep me up at night, because I think that we're going to all have to stay engaged and work on that together. I think this is a project, right? But what I'll say for California or for people, I think, again, people forward, I would say it's sort of the twin issues of opportunity and affordability. I think those are the key and critical issues that are actually facing people every day as they navigate the world. We're living in a world where you're not sure if your children are going to be better off than you, if they're going to have economic opportunity. That's probably the first time in our country, not for everyone. That's been the case for other people who've either come here or been brought here, but the first time that everyone's finally coming to understand that that's what we're up against. And I think it's kind of disruptive, right? So of course there's all kinds of issues with AI and technology and so forth, but really it's about people that are afraid, right, of like what's going to happen to my family, to me, in the future. And I think it's a real challenge.
Yeah, that uncertainty gets in the way of good trust in government. And,
it makes trust in government, and it also makes people stop taking risks. Yeah. And when you don't take risks, you can't break through to a new idea or a new project.
Yeah. So good trait for leadership is the willingness to take risks.
Yeah.
And make mistakes.
It's hard to do in government because, remember, sometimes your mistake is on the front page of the newspaper, or people don't read newspapers anymore, the front page of YouTube or wherever you're getting your news. Yeah.
But your successes often aren't on the front page.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sadly.
As a university, we know that.
I know. I know. It's hard. It's hard to break through with communications, and tell people the real story about what's happening. I also think that our information consumption is a challenge because people are only looking at what is served to them in the algorithm or what they are paying attention to. And that means that you maybe don't get the whole story even when you're doing your very best to put it out there.
Where do you see opportunities for California to lead the nation in innovation?
Well, so California is already a leader, I think, in innovation, or at least it considers itself so, but there is a lot of evidence to show that that is the case. This is where most of the AI and technology firms are located. Most of the Fortune 500 companies are located. We have the biggest number here, and we have places like UC Berkeley and Stanford and other higher education, areas of our community where you're always innovating there. And so I think California can lead on many, many things. First of all, AI and technology, for certain, but also agriculture. California's a leader in agriculture. Manufacturing, like things you don't think of California for, we actually are doing some really creative things. We are a state that lives with a lot of risk ourselves, whether it's an earthquake, a fire, or a flood. We can innovate there too.
Mm-hmm. What is a way we can ensure that California has the most agile and innovative state government workforce in the U.S.? What kind of investment does that require?
I think agile, so we should sort of define what that means. It's a term that's been around a while. It is about taking a more iterative approach instead of setting forward your project plan and just only doing that, sort of moving in shorter bursts, working with people and collaborating. So to me, it's a mindset. Yeah. And I do think that, well, in every place that I've worked, I think it's important to grow a group of people who are thinking that way and sort of radiating that out. And so we're doing that with Innovation Fellows program that we just kicked off. We have Amy here who helped do that, and Jeffrey's here too, if you want to talk to them about that. It's for state workers. They themselves are mid-career, right? They're not just brand new to the government, and really trying to take a cohort of people through an innovation way of learning and learning how to innovate in your own job. And I think that is going to be really powerful.
What kind of things, you sound optimistic.
I'm always optimistic.
You said you're extrovert, so
yeah.
But what gives you hope that things can get better?
Young people give me hope. I have a 23-year-old son, and I think he was the generation that didn't get his graduation or his senior prom because of COVID. Oh, yeah. And then went to college, and it was all COVID-y, so they couldn't gather in groups of more than 2 indoors. And to kind of come through that and still have, hope and ideas and interest and engagement in the world, I think that's incredibly hopeful. And so I think bringing more young people into government is another way to make it more agile.
What are some of the, as you can think about it, what are some of the ways in which the Goldman School didn't prepare you for working at state, local, or federal government?
Did or did not? Are you saying didn't?
Did not.
Oh.
Did not prepare you.
I'm the ad for the Goldman School.
I know.
You want me to...
We're trying to be agile. We're trying to improve, and we want to know what kinds of things. If you look at, if you look at our curriculum, it hasn't changed dramatically in the last 20, 25 years. There have been innovations and improvements, but we know technology has pushed the boundaries of what's possible. What kinds of things should we be thinking about as a policy school for the future workforce, not just the current one?
I think creating more spaces to collaborate. If the curriculum hasn't changed that much, that means that there's still an IPA project in the first year of public policy school, where you work with a group of colleagues and try to get a project done. And could be incredibly frustrating if you're really good at school because you just want to go away and sit at your desk and finish the project, which I said to somebody I worked with on this project. I'm like, look, you and I could just finish this project if we went away and did it, but that's not the point of the project. The point of the project is to actually listen to everybody and think about what they're doing and learn and incorporate their ideas and their talents into the project. And to me, that's every job I've ever had. And so, there's an IPA, and then you actually then get to do your own sort of capstone thing by yourself, I guess. You're never really working by yourself at Berkeley, but I would say more ways to force that kind of collaboration. I think it is a lot harder for introverts. I didn't appreciate this until COVID, when every extroverted way that I interacted with the world was shut down. and I couldn't operate anymore. It was the weirdest thing. I like couldn't, and I was like, oh, I'm an extrovert. I have to talk to people in person, not in 2 dimensions, in 3 dimensions. And so I know there's a big debate, for example, about do we bring all the people back to work? Should 2 days or 4 days or whatever? But to me, humans want interaction even when they're introverts. So to kind of force that on people and that kind of collaboration, I think is really, I would say, our country's cutting edge strength, because this is a really diverse country. And we're feeling it right now, right? People aren't getting along and they're whatever. But when you force collaboration and have people work together, you start to get that skill. And that's a really important skill to have.
Yeah. You said you were a walking ad for the Goldman School.
Yeah.
Be a walking ad for the governor's office.
Yeah. Tell
us something that we take for granted or we don't know about working in the highest levels of leadership in government. We of course, the front lines are never how great things are.
Yeah.
But what are some things that you've learned in your short period of time around the governor's office and how it leads?
I think it's the challenge there is the challenge that is in any, as I mentioned, any government job really, where at some point you're going to have to make a decision and move forward, and you're just not going to have perfect information. And so the trick is to figure out, it's discernment. What are you trying to maximize and minimize, right? So I'm like a risk minimizer. And so if I'm faced with something and it's like, we need to make this decision. I mean, it's September 30, we're shutting down the government, P.S. So people are like, we need to decide X, Y, Z today. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. And so I really try to figure out what's the risk if we don't do it? What's the risk if we do? How do I get more information? And I think that's something that, again, happens at the highest levels of government all the time, because you can't not decide, right? You have to do it. And it's okay to make a wrong decision. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. It's just, if you have the mitigator in place, you can figure out what you do next. It's not about what happened. It's about what you do tomorrow. Yeah. When the government is shut down.
So this is an interesting frame, because you use relationships really well for your work and for navigating the space. What can government do to help build a better relationship with the average person, with the public? And what kinds of things are being tried now by the governor's office?
The really exciting area is, and it is kind of falling in the agile kind of toolkit, as I would say, is the work happening in customer experience, user experience. I think that's really fascinating work. Jeffrey's and his team have done a lot of this work. Amy's done a lot of this work where you basically just go to people and you take them on a journey to understand how they're navigating. We're going to be doing this with even more with CalWorks, which is our workforce program, but also with CalFresh, which is our kind of our feeding program. These are programs, and Medi-Cal, by the way. These are programs that, because of HR 1, which passed last summer, are going to have a lot more requirements in them. Just think more bureaucracy, more making sure people have filled out the right kind of forms and stuff. So we're going to be doing this user experience journey on those projects to kind of figure out what is the experience now and how can we make that easier, better, faster, so that we can actually minimize the number of people that just get thrown off because they don't have the right paperwork, and that's important to us. So.
Well, Goldman does a great job analyzing, collecting, preparing data, and presenting it. Maybe there's some projects we could partner with the state on.
And you're helping us with the Innovation Fellows, turns out. You're going to be right alongside with us on that.
Would you like to say 2 things about the Innovation Fellows?
Yeah, so we put a call out to, actually Amy personally called a bunch of people. We put a call out to all agency and department heads and asked them to give up someone for part of their work day every day to be able to work on an agile government project. And we basically said, send us somebody that has promise that's going to actually be the leader of the future in state government, and we will put them through a curriculum, and they will work on real problems that we're trying to solve. And so that's kind of what the Innovation Fellows are, and we just kind of kicked it off this summer, late summer, And we're working alongside GSPP to do some of that training and that kind of iteration. And it's kind of our own little mini agile government training kit. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to ask you, where do you see opportunities for Goldman to do kind of more in the space of agile and innovation? I think you've kind of checked off all those boxes. So before we finish, I have a couple of what we call lightning round questions.
Okay,
for
I'll
you.
do my best.
All right. Now, for those who've never seen me do these, I'm just going to ask a question, and she has to answer. She can't think about it. She just has to answer the question.
Okay.
So it's a lot of you lose your honorific title if you mess up here. But these are easy.
Okay.
All right. So first one, what is your desired change maker superpower?
Oh my God. Does it have to be a real superpower or can it be fake?
You got to just answer the question.
Time travel.
I'm
just saying, I made it up. I don't.
I like that.
Okay.
You're supposed to. All right.
Okay.
This
You said it was a superpower, so it doesn't have to be like a real
Time
thing.
travel's not bad.
Time travel.
It's like
Yeah.
I'd want to come on that one.
Okay.
What movie or documentary inspires you?
I'll say I'm watching right now Chief of War, and it is amazing. It's completely in Native Hawaiian, and it's based on real things that happened. So that's been pretty inspiring to watch.
Nice.
It's a little violent, but it's.
I was gonna. You didn't say
violent.
that part. It's a lot of
violent.
blood.
It's just fun to see all the people on TV. Like it's inspiring to see like a story being told in this manner. So yeah.
That's nice. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish it next flight. What Berkeley professor, researcher, or organization transformed you the most?
John Elwood. He's has passed away, but he was did a budget and public policy class. And we would do
The budget class inspired you the most.
Yes. Do they still have it?
Yeah,
Let me just explain why. I know it sounds really weird and totally geeky and all the things. Look at his
think it's
credits.
great.
Like, no, I mean, so we did a role play. Do they still do that? Yeah. Okay, good. Thank God. Phew, that was really fun. I heard they got rid of it and they brought it back. Anyway, the Clinton administration had just started, and we were all to take on like roles either in the administration or some people were elected officials. And I wanted to be a combination of Alice Rivlin and Leon Panetta because they were like running OMB, and I was like, I want to be the OMB director. And so this is I'm just telling you the story.
It's a great story.
But what happened is we shut the government down. And the government had not been shut down in modern times, okay? We could not get the votes. Something happened. Some really smart poli-sci person changed the rules that we were playing by, and we agreed to it because we were stupid, and we shut the government down. And that was the end of our, so here I was, going in there thinking we're going to do all these great things and balance the budget. And then we shut the government down, and I was like, we're the worst people ever. It was the most depressing thing. And we all went out for drinks after, and I was really bummed. Because I was personally responsible for shutting the government down. I mean, in playtime, right? And John Elwood was like, Nani, what would happen if you shut by the way, the government is shutting down tonight. What would happen if this really happened? And it had not happened yet, okay? There was no Newt Gingrich, there was no shutting the government down yet, okay? What would really happen, Nani, is everyone would go home and go to bed and wake up and start working on it again. He was basically like, fear not. And I was like, okay,
You're good. I think we all feel better about the whole government shutdown thing.
Well,
We're going to
John
get up
Elwood
tomorrow.
said it would be okay the next day, is what I'm saying. So it was quite inspiring. And then I got to D.C. and we shut the government down. I was like, John, Professor Elwood, tell us what it did happen. And it was a long one, too. There was a snowstorm. It was the blizzard of 96. That's how old I am. There was a snowstorm, and there was a shutdown, and it was crazy. And I was working at OMB.
I'm totally fascinated by this budget thing. Anyone that can make budgeting sexy
It's so
deserves.
much fun. Okay.
You're the honorable all
All
over
things
again.
go down through the money. You just got to follow the money.
Here's an easy one. We're almost
Okay.
done here.
Okay.
You're a bartender or barista, and you have to create a signature drink. What's in it, and what do you call it?
God, that is so rough. That is so. I have been both a bartender and barista, just so you know.
This is true.
This is true. Yeah, I've waited tables. I was a really good waitress person. Yeah. So I'm like seriously thinking about it.
you're like a government expert. You love budgeting. I mean, of course, they're connected, and you have been a barista and a bartender.
Yeah, and you know what? When you work those jobs, guess what happens? You get to know people. Yes, because people come in, if you've ever waited tables, and sometimes they're just not going to have a good time no matter what. They just are having a terrible, they're out for dinner, they're going to spend money on dinner, and they're like cranky and unhappy. And so that would be like my project. I'm like, I'm going to turn that table around. And everybody's like, those people are crazy. What are you doing? I'm like, no, I'm going to turn them around.
You love your work.
I really do.
It's amazing. You didn't give me a drink.
I didn't. I mean, I like an Aperol Spritz, but I'd probably put like basil in it or something to make it a little different.
Would you call it something fancy?
No. I would call it, well, I don't know.
Come on.
I mean, maybe like a...
Innovation. Come on.
I know. I don't have any innovative words for you.
All right, we're going to
I
table
would call
this.
It like, okay, well, let's table it.
Let's table it
Yeah.
and come back to it.
Okay.
You win the Nobel Prize. Who introduces you?
Oh, good Lord. Barack Obama.
Okay. Nice.
I made that up. I don't know.
Do you have a name for your drink yet?
I mean, refreshing delightfulness.
With the Obama Apple thing, yeah. Someone makes a movie about you and your cause. Who plays you in the movie?
Oh, good Lord. That's a hard one. I don't know. Selena Gomez. Just because she's funny? Just because she's funny. She's funny.
She's funny.
It just has to be somebody funny. I don't really care who plays me. They just have to be funny.
This is really off the rails now. All right. What was the last thing you honestly put 100% into?
Oh, my job. Absolutely.
What was the last non-work thing you put 100%
that's really hard.
into?
I mean, I worked all weekend, you guys. My son.
Nice.
Yeah. He probably doesn't feel that way. He's great, though. He's super great.
Could you put 100% in?
Yeah, 110. You got to go all the way, man. You're bringing people into the world. It's a serious thing. You can't be, like, messing around with that.
You do a great job advertising the Goldman School,
Okay.
the state of California government, and public service. Everyone, please thank Nani Coloretti. Good job.